panel is really trying to bring together the entire lineup that we had today. We called it AI meets React Native, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And what we want to do is, you've heard a lot of talks that focused on the core platform, whether that's about React Native macOS or about getting edge-to-edge support inside of React Native. A lot of core platform and libraries that have come around and talked about some of the latest and greatest advancements in the React Native space. At the same time, we've had talks about AI. And what we want to do now is bring these two together, intersect it, and end on this note today. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome the panelists one by one onto the stage. So we'll start with Elad Gelman from Amazon. Please give him a big round of applause. We'll then have Riccardo Cipolleschi come onto the stage. Give him a big round of applause. Cedric van Putten, come along. We got Delphine Bugner next. We'll get Gijs Wettering coming on. And last but not least, we'll get Angelo Giacco coming onto the stage. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for taking the time and sticking around. I know you've been going through watching all the talks today. You must be tired, because I'm really tired. So I'm thankful that you're here, and I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. So to maybe set the scene, put things into a bit of context here, we've talked a lot about that intersection and what it means. And I started off talking about how AI took the world by storm over the last few years. And one of the focuses that, of course, we saw a lot about was developer productivity, right? And how do we make developers faster at writing code? And naturally, there's that intersection with the mobile ecosystem. And I think it's clear to say, and I think the general consensus is AI tools have helped developers move faster, build prototypes faster. But it's not all rosy. And the boom in GenAI, it raises those questions about vibe coding. What does it mean? What are the risks? And all of those associated questions that we've gone through. And so I think we've got a really great lineup here. And we sort of have selected this lineup because everyone can come at it from a different perspective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give an introduction on behalf of the panelists. One, because I know it's incredibly awkward to introduce yourself on stage. And two, because I think I can help set the stage a little bit before we dig in. So I guess I'll start with Riccardo. So Riccardo works at Meta. He's been on many stages in the React Native ecosystem. And he's a maintainer of React Native. And it's been many years now that you've been a maintainer of React Native. And I think one of the key things that it's good to understand is what is the experience of an open source maintainer when it comes to the rise in GenAI code that is coming through, or GenAI generated code. So I think Riccardo is going to be sharing a lot in that space with us. Of course, we've got Gijs as well from Meta. And he's been focusing on AI tooling, again, in the React team, to help React and React Native developers and looking at the quality of some of this tooling, whether it's rules and so on and so forth. Cedric, who is always lovely to have, and thank you again for coming back to RNLConf and being with us for a second year, has been at Expo for 5 years now, and has been looking at how Expo, where we're going to be talking about how Expo has been using AI, tackling AI both internally and also as a wider developer experience piece for everyone who uses Expo, which I presume is almost everyone in this room at this point. So that'll be quite interesting. And then we've got Elad from Amazon sitting at the far end, who's been a long-time React Native veteran. What was the first version of React Native you started using?
0.15.
0.50. OK. So been around for a little while and been using React Native for a little while and has recently joined the Amazon team to work on Vega OS. And so what we're going to be talking about is, given that this new OS is launched, how AI has been a tool for you to help different developers get up to speed with all of the different intricacies of being a Vega developer, as well as your own personal experience in this space, because I know you're quite passionate about AI. So we had a good chat before about that. Now, some of you will know Delphine because, again, she's a popular face in the React Native ecosystem. And she used to be a part of our team in Theodo, and it was a big, big, sad loss for us to lose you. But I'm so glad that you're thriving, and we're glad to have you back on the stage here. And Delphine works at Mistral, and she's led the building of the app called Le Chat. Who's used Mistral's Le Chat chatbot app? Great. So you'll know it's built fully in React Native. Yes, I assumed you've used it. That would be concerning. We're going to talk about what's the experience been building a mobile app that's basically surfacing a chatbot for an LLM, right? There's certain challenges, and it's more from what does it mean to build a product. And of course, lastly, we've got Angelo, who works at 11 Labs. Now, raise of hands, who's used or heard of 11 Labs here? Cool, a good chunk of people. They built some really cool speech AI tooling. I definitely recommend giving it a look. Angelo is working on the agents side of the 11 Labs SDK, and is going to share some details about how the RN SDK works and some cool use cases that you can consider to bring voice into your mobile applications and think about new UX paradigms when it comes to that. So I'm going to start broad, and let's keep these answers concise because I want to then dig into details. But at a first level, if we look at this very broadly, do we each individually think that GenAI has actually improved productivity for React Native devs? Let's just not take that as a given, right? So let's start with the basic question. Has it improved productivity? I'll start from you, Elad, and we'll go sort of in this direction.
So just repeating the question, did GenAI help me improve my mobile app generation?
Yeah.
So yes, I've been using it for every project that I'm taking on now. Whenever I need to battle a setup of Metro config or Babel, it's there by my side. And when I hit a wall, if it's creativity, if it's starting a new screen, I go to v0.dev or any other tool just like that, and I have everything I need on screen, and I just like export it and use it in my React Native project.
Cool. Now, Ricardo, I know you're not actively maybe building apps because you're building the core platform, but do you think it's helped your productivity as an open source maintainer?
Yeah, for sure. In my experience, I can't use it for every task because
Sure.
there are some, I don't know, Coppods things, for example, or very niche part of the framework where it's still not there yet. So it's not able to do stuff. It hallucinates every time. So it's just better that I do it myself. But for a lot of other things, like, I don't know, scripting, testing, unit testing specifically, is very good. It's very good also for like documentation, understanding how the rest of the code base behave. So definitely yes,
Sure.
big improvement.
Cedric?
Yeah, I think so. It's like, even if you look at all the efforts that we're doing at Expo, like without AI, it's like the efforts for AI, it has kind of forced us to work on all the nitty-gritties of React Native. It's like an AI has a limited worldview, it has a limited scope, works best with curated context. So we can basically feed it all kinds of random data. So like, we have known issues in the React Native world where errors reporting is just fully broken when the bundle couldn't fully initialize. So even just looking at that, there's like all the efforts that we poured in there, where we just created new React terminal traces. We have better error messaging, and even in the next SDK cycle, there is going to be a whole new error reporting. That alone makes developers' product, more productive even without AI. So
Yeah, fair enough. Delphine, I mean, I know you work at an AI company, so but I guess at a personal level, do you find it useful to work with an LLM when you're building a mobile app? Because you are building a mobile app, right? Like, your job is to build Lisha.
Yes, definitely. I think I used to work at theater, so we were like 50 React Native developers in a room. After I joined Mistral, I was the only mobile developer, and suddenly AI became my best friend, best colleague to help me going through Apple documentation, write unit text, generate mock data, writing documentation, because I had no time to do it myself. And maybe the best part of it is I could actually test my products while working, because we're all using Mistral models, Mistral tooling for our AI-assisted task. So Lucia was coding himself, and it's cool to use a product that you're coding. You always build better products if you use them.
Yeah, the core
It's
message
also
is, I
part of
guess,
my job.
dog food what you're building, basically, and really try it yourself and make sure that.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes my AI assistant was my iOS simulator, which is not great, but cool to find bugs.
All right. Hi.
Yeah, I think it's never been a better time to be a React Native developer. It's like so many more opportunities to like get a project off the ground, and like Kadi showed all the side projects just now. And just to get off the ground there and get something on the screen that's running on your phone, it's always just so amazing to see. And obviously, like at Meta, we're working way more iteratively, not just on the greenfield apps, but even there we see so much more use of it in the past couple months. And yeah, it's been a huge boon.
Cool. Angelo.
I mean, to not be boring, I won't say yes. Yeah, like I get at least one PR a week to one of our open source repos, leaking an API key, even from like big enterprises, leaking access to like sensitive voices or, so I think in terms of maintaining open source repos, like it's definitely gone up because of GenAI.
Interesting.
But yeah, like I use Claude Code every day, so.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's definitely balanced. And I think that very well sort of segues us into some of the questions that I want to start off with Ricardo and with Gijs, more to focus on how it's being used in Meta, right? Because you folks are open source maintainers, in essence, in the sense that you're part of the React core team. And what has the contribution quality looked like for open source projects, right? I'm sure you get a lot of PRs now, and some of them might make you roll your eyes in some capacity, similar to the experience that you're highlighting. What has that been like over the last year?
So unexpectedly, we don't receive that many issues or PR created by AI. There are few, and you can of course spot them immediately. The quality, on average, is not great, as you can imagine. I was reviewing a couple of pull requests recently, and one was a huge body in the description. I was like refactoring off a part of the framework, like what's that? Why is it doing that? And then I went to the code and was like 5 lines of documentation. Like, what's that? So, I mean, the AI is a tool, as we were been saying for the whole day. It's not just that you pass some problem into your LLM and you open a PR with a fix. I mean, you start from there, but then you have to iterate over it, right? So understand what's going on, understand what's the problem it's trying to solve. Please verify that the fix is actually working, because we receive stuff that's like supposed to work and they don't work. And then you submit a PR. So, I mean, I think that there is an education phase that we have to go through as a community. But definitely the tool is powerful, and we encourage everybody to use it and to learn how to use it at best.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Follow-up? Are you using any AI tools to identify the AI commits?
I mean, we don't. So we were experimenting with some stuff to work with issues to help us detect, for example, duplicates and stuff like that. We have planned to explore the space. We haven't done yet there. We haven't done anything there yet. But yeah, I mean, it's in the plan.
I guess, for anyone who's contributed to like a Meta repository, you'll have to go through a process to basically sign a license for various reasons that there's no point of going into right now. But is there any consideration or concerns when we're dealing with the potential that some of this code might now be AI generated? Is there any worries from like a licensing perspective? Potentially some of this code might be trained on some proprietary code. Is there any thinking behind that in that space? Because it's an underexplored space just generally right now, not just in coding, but in legal documents and literature. So I'm wondering if conversations like that are being had about the licensing and who owns the code.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really my area of expertise, right? But I think that the main problem we are going to have in the future is that I think there is some legal rule for which you can train a model on the code written by another model. And so it's going to be interesting to see, like, if a lot of code is generated by AI and we commit that code, does it mean that other first of all, how can you know which model has written the code? Big question. Yeah. Secondly, assuming that everything is written by one model, like Mistral, even if we have Delphine here, for example.
I thought you were going to say Llama, but okay, yeah, go for Mistral.
How can other model be trained? Like, is the knowledge going to like deteriorate somehow, or I don't know. That's a big question. don't know if Ice, something from internal stuff, the legal team or anything.
No, in general, the space is so new that everyone's still sort of figuring out what does that mean and what does it mean for open source contributions. I think overall, it's a net positive if we can get high quality code that brings forward these projects, whether it's like totally written by AI or not. But yeah, there are like sort of ethical questions in the whole entire AI space, and not just in software, but in everything, that we're still sort of figuring out as the world, like overall.
And I guess what is the internal attitudes, Heist, that you've been working on AI tooling in Meta, so you're pretty much like at the forefront of it, right? So what's the internal attitude, like what's the thinking behind how to drive AI adoption or where to drive AI adoption, and like what are some of the things that you've been working on when we say that you work on some of the AI tooling for the React team?
Yeah, we're doing like something on almost every layer imaginable right now.
Sure.
But it's a lot of exploratory work. So we have literally thousands of people at Meta writing React code every day. And so we're looking at supporting them as they use DevMate, our like internal version of like Cursor or Claude. We're also experimenting with those versions and like various tools just to sort of experiment what works, what doesn't, what can we improve upon. And then specifically for React, we're like looking at the code that we have across all of our products on web and mobile and desktop and VR and everything else. And we're looking at the code that we have, the quality of it. Some of it's good, some of it's not. Even at Meta, there's a lot of very bad React code. And we're like looking at how can we learn from those examples. So we're writing rules and we're writing evals for those rules based on real code and real products, where we're just not only looking at can we make it the LLM write better React code, but also can we find the pitfalls and the stylistic differences between open source and Meta, or between even different projects and products at Meta. And then there's a lot more in terms of like new paradigms, like vibe coding. What does that look like in a company like that? It's not just all just greenfield things. There's prototyping, but there's also just immense like production apps like Facebook that use a ton of React Native, and we want to make sure that we're building the right thing for that. But yeah, for every diff, so every pull request at the company, we can now see character by character if it was AI generated or not.
Cool.
And we're using that to like learn what works, what doesn't, what output comes out of an AI that is or is not useful for the final product after a human has actually reviewed it and iterated on it.
Wow, it's super fascinating to like hear about what the attitude is at a massive scale, right? Like it doesn't get much bigger than, I guess, Meta in terms of like the effort and investment into AI, which is really, really interesting to hear. I guess let's take the flip side now, and I want to highlight the sort of the two startup / scale up AI companies here. So I'll start with Angelo. Tell us a little bit about like the React Native SDK for 11 Labs. I know a lot of people sort of raise their hands, about like 30-40% of the crowd raise their hands. But for those who aren't aware of what 11 Labs does, what does the React Native SDK let you do? And what are some of the best use cases of using voice in mobile apps that you've seen?
Yeah, sure. So 11 Labs, we do like foundational AI research for audio models and then do product deployment. So for example, yesterday or the day before, we announced like Scribe v2, which is our latest real-time speech-to-text model. So you can add like best-in-class transcription to your apps in 99 languages. And we started as a text-to-speech company. So you can just generate like speech from any text you want with any voice. And what we've done is become like a product deployment company. So you can build agents that listen to speech and respond. And like our React Native SDK is just basically a wrapper around our real-time infrastructure. So I maintain our WebRTC, and the React Native SDK is a wrapper around the WebRTC session where you can send audio down it. We'll do speech to text on it, pass it then through an LLM, and then send you back down WebRTC the audio. And we've seen some really amazing like examples. I was talking to a runner earlier that use it to give you a running coach that you can talk to. And yeah, we also had this morning, I was working with like a health service where they use it to give you like a hands-free companion that helps you do injections at home. So there's like some really cool things you can do where you can imagine maybe your React Native app, it has like a nice UI, but can it also add like a conversation layer as its kind of second UI where you're having a conversation with it whilst you're using it? And there's like a lot of different UX patterns you can consider for that.
Very, very cool. I guess you mentioned a few examples, but are there any other examples that come to your mind that maybe you've seen on the web that you think, hey, this could be cool to adopt into a mobile app? Because it sounds like, from what I've seen in sort of this ecosystem, there's a lot of focus on web apps, and web apps have started to adopt a lot of voice. From our conversations, it sounds like mobile is sort of lagging behind. And I guess, like, what would be your message to people in the React Native ecosystem, of which we've got a good crowd here today?
Yeah, I think like web developers have been very quick to adopt it in terms of like where they're using 11 Labs like conversations to simplify their UI and just have rely on the user to have a conversation with the agent and direct them to the right page. We haven't seen that yet with apps where you'll talk to the app and it like kind of renders a different view for you based on what you're saying to it. And the coolest example actually I saw was I saw somebody using Expo inside of a Waymo car to kind of like voice command Claude Code like from their phone.
Wow, that is wild. That's props to both you guys and Expo for that. That's shows how far this technology's come. It's almost terrifying. Cool. Thank you for that. Delphine, I guess you've compared to everyone else on the panel, you're actually looking at this in a very different way, in the sense that rather than looking at using AI for React Native, you're actually using React Native for building an AI app. And why did Mistral choose React Native for building Le Chat?
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the mirror. Well, actually, React Native for AI makes a ton of sense. Mistral core value, one of Mistral core values is ship early and accelerate. And that fits exactly the promise of React Native. One of my favorite examples of that is the voice mode. We released it entirely through EAS updates on every app in July. As soon as the Voxtral model of Mistral was announced, with just 5 minutes later, it was on everyone's device through the JavaScript updates, and that was super cool. Also, because we are a small team, we were able to share code with the web, because Le Chat Web has existed for more than a year now, and that enabled us to accelerate and go faster to the market. And this is what we want for an AI app, to be always on top.
Yeah, that makes total sense. What are, I guess, some of the challenges? Because building an LLM app or chatbot is not necessarily straightforward. So there's a lot of complexities when it comes to, I'm going to throw a very specific example here, but like text handling. And I'll let you explain the complexities around it, because it sounds trivial, but it's really not trivial. So what are some of the challenges you faced as the person building the app to handle the AI output and displaying that to the user in a nice, user-friendly way? What were some of the challenges you faced technically in that space?
Yeah, excellent question. I can give 3 examples around that.
Sure.
We're just displaying answers from the model, right? What could be complicated? First thing is streaming it. We want the answer to be available as soon as it's generated on the model side. So we should display the answer token per token. This is streaming in React Native, and it's not as straightforward. You can watch my IPGS talk, information around that. But even if you use Expo Fetch to make it easier, the integration with React Query is still not easy, and you will still need to use some polyfills for event source. So we needed to build our own caching system to ensure we were always up to date with what the server was sending us, never to lose the user prompt as well, and also ensuring if the user leaves the app, if he reopens it, he wants the answer to be fully generated. Previously, we did not have that. Like if you stopped if you close the app when it was generating, you would completely lose what the model was answering. And now the streaming is actually going on the server side. So when the user refocuses the app, you now have the full answer. So that seems trivial on the outside, but it's actually quite interesting to focus on that. Streaming is the first part. Second part that is hard is actually rendering the text, because it's not just text, it's rich text with style, headings, tables, cut blocks that will take like hours to render. And we rewrote completely our Markdown renderer to ensure it was the most performant and the most flexible to also have custom elements in line. But the trickiest part was text selection. You probably know that for iOS, you can't really have text selection inline natively. So especially if you have views in text, so we forked the Blue Sky repository to achieve that in a native way. And it was one of the most requested features on store for the app, because users want to actually copy what you generated for them. And the third and last thing I want to share with you about the challenging in building a good chat app, obviously, is keyboard related. Because if you have text, you have a text input. And if you have a text input, you have keyboard management, especially when we did not have voice mode. And you want the keyboard to follow the content of your screen. So when the user is typing, is always seeing what's on top, the last assistant answer to inspire his next question. But what is specific to an AI chat is you also want, when the user sends its prompt, it actually goes to the top of the screen, and then the assistant answers write itself in this extra space. And only AI chat goes this way.
True.
And you can't really predict. So this extra space needs also to be animated to enter the keyboard. So sometimes the keyboard needs to follow the content. Sometimes you need to have extra space. Everything should be responding to the keyboard movement. So we needed to rewrite an entire keyboard controller ourselves based on reanimated shared value to properly manage that. And yeah, I think V0 is also crafting a blog post about keyboard handling in the V0 app. So definitely something to tackle when you use your chat.
I was speaking to someone who was working on that, and they were having the exact same challenges. So yeah, if you thought keyboard handling was hard in your React Native apps, wait until your PM asks you to build an AI chatbot. Then you're gonna have a great time. I guess I'm hoping that someone, and this is not any pressure here, but I'm hoping someone open sources some of these custom keyboard controllers.
Please
Maybe.
Elad is very keen for it to be open source.
Mistral loves open source, so
yes, I'm aware.
Maybe.
So a slight nudge on that but I think it would be very, very valuable, because I think a lot of apps are going to start introducing one form or another of a chatbot. That's incredibly interesting. And you were showing me some parts of the Mistral app last night, and I really liked some of the details that you've solved around, whether it's how do you handle selecting text when there's views inside of a text, right? These are non-trivial problems, and they're not necessarily thought about or handled until we started to deal with large-scale LLMs and sort of having a lot of these chatbot interfaces. And so I think you're doing some great work, and congratulations to you and congratulations to your team on launching the app. So it's very cool. Cedric, my dear friend. James, the CTO of Expo, released a document a few months back about Expo's AI strategy. And I guess it's very much a principles document more than here's the features we're going to release. And I'm going to be the annoying person who asks you, what should developers expect next from Expo's AI tooling?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, firstly, one of the things that we think about at Expo is how can we improve the whole experience, right, end to end? So I saw this tweet or some complaint from some user against Apple about Apple not investing enough in programmatic tooling like the CLI for Swift UI, where it could have been way more productive if they added way easier tools and way better tools for that. It's at Expo we have naturally been using the terminal for so long that like this whole tool set and this whole ecosystem of composable tooling is just out there, like by default. So I think that's why like we see so many AI companies using Expo, and by extent is like asking us to cooperate with their product. There are plenty of ways like we learn from those experiences. Like we have partnership with like pretty much everyone that got mentioned, or like at least a Slack channel with pretty much everyone that got mentioned throughout the day. And it's like one of the things that we learned there is that we need to teach the AI specifically, but like not oversharing,
Sure.
but specifically with the Expo instructions. So that's why we started working on the MCP stuff, like to have a toolkit available for everyone, but also try to convey the expertise that we have for pretty much all the Expo modules and the Expo project in general to the AI. We also want like the MCP to be able to auto recover in cases of errors. It's like that's also why we focus on errors. But like I mean, like if you want to be the best cross-platform framework, you gotta be the best single platform framework as well. So like having working apps is one thing, but having beautiful apps is the second thing. It's like nowadays with AI, with Lovable, you can create pretty decent UIs, but how do you do that on mobile? It's like there are restrictions, there are limitations. It works a little bit harder compared to web. So that's why we started thinking about Expo UI, like just to see how we can leverage the single platform primitives in a way that we know or we understand how they could work in a React Native setting, to bump up the quality of the output. And then like, regardless of that, it's like, we also, since we have the partnerships with all the AI app editors, we also spotted like pretty much the common issue there, which is like distribution as well.
Yeah.
It's like, you can have a very cool app, but how do you let your users submit it? It's like, do they have to install Xcode? Like, what is the next step? So we created Launch as a way of doing that, where we basically took like pretty much our year-long learning of EAS CLI and all the automations that we have around that, and put it just into a website, because a normal person can use the AI app editors, but they can't use the terminal. So move it out of the terminal into a web browser, and then go from there. And like, we have some exciting news coming up on that soon. I can't share it yet, but yeah, big names.
No secret news that you can share? That's fair.
It starts with an R. That's what.
It starts with what?
It starts with an R.
That's really not helpful.
That's as far as I can go.
Thank you for this big reveal. You heard it first. It starts with an R. Cool. It's interesting because I think it's like you mentioned, a lot of these sort of app builders, whether I sort of covered it at the beginning of the day, but V0, Replit, just to sort of name a few, are using Expo under the hood, right? And it's interesting that you're seeing some of these common trends, and hopefully it helps you as a team, as the sort of the core layer underneath all of these, be able to adapt and make sure that people can release quite quicker. So, what if you can maybe, and totally fair if you can't really go into more detail, but like, where do you see Launch going? It's obviously opening up a lot of opportunities for people that are new to the space and are building apps for the first time. Where do you see sort of the long-term vision? Because I personally think Expo has really like pioneered deployment of applications and simplify that process far beyond anything we've previously had. Where do you see the future of Launch and sort of like Expo's wider sort of deployment and launch strategy?
I mean, we're still early, right? Like right now we're in the launch beta phase. But there are so many things that we are doing throughout the ecosystem, right? So we have Expo, the open source project, which is the framework, which like powers basically you making an app. Then on top of that, we have the paid EAS services, which of course help us put effort into the Expo framework. But there's also like an in-between layer where we have like services or like tools that kind of help us like automate everything. But why should that be tied to Expo, right? It's like, if we can help pretty much anyone get whatever app they have into the App Store, like our mission is also met, like make beautiful apps and make it available for the normal user. So that's why we, I mean, kind of memed a little, but It was also just a test for us to see how far we can get it. But like Kari said, we added Flutter support. It was actually
My
pretty easy.
condolences.
Yeah, I mean, like we even have a prototype for native script as well.
Cool.
And Swift UI even. That's a little harder though. So I definitely see where like the future of launch being able to launch way more frameworks than we currently have, but also on the other side, right? Allowing us to automate way more launch targets as well. It's like right now we have web and the App Store. We're working on the Play Store, although Google is not easy to reach. And then like, why should we stop there? I was like, what about the Meta Quest Store? What about the Amazon Marketplace? Like if we can detect that the app can be built for it, why can't we just let users help ship their app there? It's like the only thing that we want to do is that for users, they should be able to install their app on their phone end to end without touching a computer or like other than the browser. So
It
there's
fits
so
into
much
that
work.
universal vision, right? That Expo's been
Yeah.
working on, right? It's not just
Yeah.
mobile apps anymore, but
Exactly.
you have a web launching solution now, or web deployment solution now, and AR VR maybe on the cars, maybe desktop, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
it fits into that narrative. Very, very cool. Well,
But also just like actual getting to shipping, right? There's
Yeah.
so many of us that have a million side projects that live in a folder on your MacBook somewhere that
Oh, yes.
never ended up shipping. And I really hope that we're going to see over the next couple of years that so many more people just ship their weekend project on Sunday evening and it actually being in the App Store. And maybe the name of the dog is hard-coded in your app. That can be a V2, but like just having it out and having someone else being able to download it, it's amazing.
Yeah. It's like in the end, like nothing really matters unless you launch. Like you can create the most insane things, but if nobody's going to see them, for who are you going to make them then? Right?
is that going to be the new tagline for Expo launch? Nothing really matters unless you launch.
Who knows? Who
You're a
knows?
marketing genius, man.
Boy,
It's impressive.
the first one here.
Yeah. So I mean, it kind of goes back to Kitse's talk, and I'm going to try to rephrase it with far less expletives. But it's the ability for some of these tools to allow you to build something is incredibly important. And if you then do it, your side projects leave your MacBook, and they'll actually end up in the hands of users. And I guess launch is a really, really key part of that. So thank you guys for working on that, and congratulations on the launch of launch.
Thank you.
It's very, very cool. I'll move on to our last panelist. So Elad has traveled from all the way across the world. I think almost literally I can say that. San Francisco is probably quite the opposite side of the world.
An ocean and a continent.
An ocean and a continent. Yes, yeah, it's quite far away. And so thank you for coming all the way to London. And I hope your jet lag has subsided.
It's okay.
It's okay. Good. So Elad came over to our offices a few days back, and we just chatted and got to know each other a little bit more. Had a great chat, and you talked to me about like your dream vision, because I think maybe out of the group, I dare say that you're maybe the most like optimistic about AI in the group from our conversations, and you painted this sort of a utopian world of using AI to build great products. I want you to share that sort of with the audience, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, for sure. It's also a bit related to what you guys were talking about. So I'll talk about my vision. This is something that I've been carrying around with myself even before ChatGPT was announced to the world 3 years ago. Sitting at home during COVID, working on the computer, I was always thinking about, I wish I could just go outside and think about the idea and let it happen in the background while I go for a walk. And this is how I see the future. The future is I'm going to be walking in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, and I'm going to be like the most of you. Oh, I have an idea for a feature. I'm just going to talk to my phone, and I'm going to say, hey, let's build this screen with this and that. And I continue my walk, and I'm with my family. And then while I walk, I get a video of 3 different personas trying this feature. And all these 3 different personas are actually AI. And I think that we're moving towards that place. Because if you look a year and a half ago, I was experimenting with Claude, and Claude Code didn't even exist, and MCPs didn't exist. And I was using Claude Project, and I wanted to familiarize myself with Swift UI. Yes, this is React Native convention, but Swift UI, I got to understand it. I'm doing mobile.
We don't discriminate against UI libraries here, except Flutter.
Yes.
Fine.
So I created a project and I started uploading the files one by one to Claude project. And I was like, okay, I'm going to outsmart it. I'm going to create a script that's going to take just the Swift files and upload them. And then I created a script that turned them all into one file, and I uploaded them into Claude project. And then MCPs came out. And I was like, oh, I can just use that. And Forever has been at the workshop that we've done yesterday. You could see that with MCP, you can build to a platform you've never built before, and you have 3 screens of a TV app in like 20 minutes. And this is a part of where we're going to. And then early this year, all of the app builders came out: Replit, vZero, Lovable, and then people that are not developers can build apps. Yes, they lack the understanding that the people in this room has, that when you want to scale an app, you need to understand everything, all the moving parts that are in it. And then in the past couple of months, we have the rise of local aware context agents that are running on your computer: Kiro, Cursor, Claude Code, Gemini, you name it. And if I look at this, we're seeing all these tools that are taking non-deterministic problems. If I was talking in the beginning about Metro Config and Babel, but you can also take it to, you were talking about how launch.dev deploys to test flight for you, right? But what about opening an account? I've just talked to a friend of mine that had to open an account at Apple. He sent me a list of at least 25 items. And I don't know if you've done that recently, but that includes like getting an approval from DUNS and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We are moving towards a place where everything is just going to be MCP'd and going to be automate, whatever you say the word is, for us. So if I need to think about it, I think that in a year and a half, we're going to see a consolidation of all these different solutions, because I'm sure that there are different companies that are working on taking these problems one by one, and there's probably going to be a bigger company that's going to take all these solutions and turn them into one bigger solution that average Joe, not in San Francisco, so in New York, is going to take that solution and apply it to their app that they want to build. So
What are we? So you know, let's say that year and a half from now, what are we missing to get there? What's the key thing that's missing today? So
there are a lot of missing parts. So to name a few, creating an account is one of them. An end-to-end solution that builds a CI/CD for you, that helps you with the deployment. I mean, you guys are doing great work, but not just Expo. Automation testing. I don't want to define the IDs for every component in my project. I want just to say, hey, test this onboarding for this and this kind of users that are going to come for this and this kind of funnel. So these are the kind of things that we're missing. And the last thing, and this is something that's really close to heart, is state management. When you build with AI, you need to have an AI that knows how to scale your state management throughout your app, because there is a lot of moving parts there. And not all the time it knows how to do it, and then you get like just a state, like use state instead of use my zoo stand or Redux or whatever.
There's the state management, and then taking a step back, your mention of state management kind of made me think of the first thing that you said, which was you have these sort of 3 AI agents that are going away and tackling the same problem and presenting you with different solutions that you can tackle. And it's almost like, is there a bottleneck here as well, which is that, and Kitse kind of touched on this in his talk as well, which was if you let too many agents roam wild in your code base and do different things at the same time, things can get really messy very quickly, right? And I wonder if part of the problem as well that needs to be solved is almost the state management, the state or the memory of these different agents that are working together with like a an internal reference of what has happened so far, almost like a context of what they've done in the
Almost
past.
like a software engineer.
Almost like software engineering. Yeah, it's maybe it's already there.
No, so like LLMs currently are great at like doing a step at a time, and like
Yeah.
for React code, writing a component at a time. But it's not great yet at application management, at
course.
architecture. And
And I guess the question is like, what do we need to get there, right? Like, will we get there? That's
Yeah.
a big if. Maybe we don't, maybe we do. But also, what do we need to do to get there? And it's it seems like it's still an open problem.
it is very much, and everyone is working on it right now because like you can, if you get Claude code and you send it off on a task, it'll go for a while, and
It will go for a while. Yeah.
and it'll write a lot of code if you ask it to, and sometimes that's great, sometimes it's not. And what happens if 10,000 lines get added a day to your side project, and you suddenly need to manage all that? It's going to be very different in a couple of years, I think.
You go to fixmyvibecoding.com apparently and
Maybe,
hire
yeah.
someone to fix it for you. That's what we learned today. So we give it a year and a half then, Elot, and maybe we'll see you in a year or two here, and we'll check up on where we are in that vision and that dream. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I hope so.
Cool. All right, we're gonna wrap up because I think we're slightly over time. I want to finish on a slightly lighter note because you're all in London, and the best way to know our panelists is to know random details about their preferences when it comes to London. So I'm gonna make this incredibly awkward and ask some quick-fire trivia questions that are London-related, and I'll just go in that order. So very quickly you can respond, and then we'll release you of your paneling duties afterwards. So the most important question, because you're in Britain: tea or coffee?
Tea.
Correct. Sorry, go ahead.
I'd say coffee.
Coffee too.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah, multiple coffees.
I'm also coffee, to be honest. I was just trying to give you a hard time. Didn't work. East, west, north, or south London?
East.
This is a very divisive question, by the way.
West.
Oh,
Definitely east for London City Airport.
a city man.
East as well.
East, okay.
I live in North London, but East is...
You just randomly chose east there for the fun.
No. East is amazing.
Nice. Okay.
So fun.
West.
West all the way. I agree. Tube or bike?
Walk.
Walk. Brave.
Tube.
Definitely bike. I'm Dutch, so
Oh yes, of course.
bike.
No way other than that.
Nothing
Okay, cool.
else.
I love the Boris bikes. I use them all the time.
Okay.
I am also Dutch. Bike.
Well, of course.
Also walk.
Okay, also walk. Great. You guys are not answering my question whatsoever. Thank you. And finally, Big Ben or St. Paul's?
Big Ben. I'm tall.
Thank you for that.
I'd say St. Paul.
Big boy band. Definitely.
Big boy Ben.
Yes.
Cool.
Simple. I love the Benedium Bridge.
Okay.
Simple as well. No preference.
No preference on any of London's monuments whatsoever. Cool. Sounds good. All right, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you very much to all of the panelists. Please give them a massive round of applause.